There is something women do when they really like a man, and it can make him feel less attracted. And the scary part is, it does not look desperate. It looks feminine. It looks sweet. It looks loyal. It looks patient. It looks like being understanding. But sometimes, the thing that makes a man lose attraction is the same thing women think makes them more lovable: being endlessly available, endlessly forgiving, endlessly understanding, endlessly easy to keep. You think, if I show him how much I care, he will value me more. But sometimes, the opposite happens. He invests less. He gets comfortable. He stops trying. And suddenly, you become the woman waiting for effort, instead of the woman receiving it. That is why a man can be obsessed in the beginning. He texts first. He makes plans. He acts like you are different. And then, slowly, his energy changes. The replies get colder. The effort gets smaller. The warmth disappears. And you sit there thinking, what did I do wrong? Was I too much? Did I text too fast? Was I too emotional? Did he meet someone else? But most of the time, it is not one single mistake. It is a shift. A shift from, I like you, to, please don't leave me. And he can feel that shift, even if you never say it. He feels it when you answer faster than you normally would. He feels it when you stop saying what you really think. He feels it when he gives less and you try harder. He feels it when your standards get quieter because your attachment gets louder. And once that happens, attraction can change very quickly. Not because you are not beautiful, not because you are not valuable, but because the dynamic changed. You went from being the woman he wanted to win to the woman who was afraid of losing him. So today, let's talk about why men suddenly lose interest, even when they seemed so attracted in the beginning. Not so you can blame yourself, not so you can play games, but so you can understand the pattern before it happens again. The first thing that makes men lose interest is when your patience replaces your standards. Patience is beautiful, but only when it comes from peace, not from fear, because there is a big difference between being patient and silently accepting behavior that hurts you. He takes longer to reply, and you say, it's okay. He cancels plans, and you say, it's okay. He gives less effort, and you say, it's okay. He becomes inconsistent, and you say, I don't want to pressure him. But deep down, it does not feel okay. You are just afraid that if you speak up, he will pull away even more. So you become easier, quieter, more understanding, less demanding, and you tell yourself you are being mature. But sometimes you are not being mature. You are abandoning your standard, and a man can feel that. He can feel when your boundary is no longer a boundary. He can feel when you are tolerating something just to keep him close. He can feel when you are scared to lose access to him. And once he feels that, the balance changes. He gives less. You adjust more. He becomes colder. You become softer. And slowly, he learns that he can be inconsistent and still keep you. That is when attraction becomes unstable, because you are no longer standing in your value. You are negotiating for him to see it. A standard is not drama. A standard is not pressure. A standard is not being difficult. A standard is simply the line where you say, this is what I need to feel safe here. And if you keep moving that line for a man who is giving less, he will not respect the line, because you do not respect it either. So ask yourself honestly, am I being patient or am I making excuses? Because patience feels calm, making excuses feels anxious. The second thing that makes men lose interest is when your kindness becomes over-access. Being kind is attractive. Being warm is attractive. Being open is attractive. But being available no matter how little he invests, that changes the dynamic. He texts and your whole mood changes. He disappears and you wait. He comes back and you instantly become sweet again. He asks to see you last minute and you move your plans. He gives you a little attention and suddenly he has full access to you again. That is not kindness. That is over-access. And over-access teaches him that your presence does not require his effort. He does not need to plan. He does not need to be consistent. He does not need to earn closeness. He can reach you whenever he wants. And when someone feels like they can have access to you without showing up properly, they often stop valuing that access. Not because your value is lower, but because the dynamic made your presence feel guaranteed. And guaranteed access kills pursuit. This is not about playing hard to get. It is not about ignoring him to seem mysterious. It is not about acting cold. It is about having a life that does not collapse the moment he gives you attention. It is about being warm, but not waiting. Interested, but not orbiting. Open, but not endlessly available. Because the right energy is not, I don't care. The right energy is, I like you, but I still belong to myself. That is what keeps attraction alive. The third thing that makes men lose interest is when you reward low effort with high emotion. This is one of the most dangerous patterns. He sends one sweet message after being distant for days, and you melt. He says, I miss you, after barely making time for you, and suddenly you feel hopeful again. He gives one compliment, and you forget the inconsistency. He gives you a little crumb of affection, and you respond like he gave you the whole relationship. And I understand why. When you are attached, small signs feel huge. A message feels like relief. A compliment feels like proof. A little attention feels like hope. But if you keep responding to low effort with high emotion, you train the relationship. You teach him that he does not have to do much to get a lot from you. He does not need consistency. He only needs moments. He does not need to show up. He only needs to say the right thing when he feels you slipping away. And that is how women get stuck. Not because he gives nothing, but because he gives just enough. Enough to keep you hoping. Enough to make you remember the beginning. Enough to make you think, maybe he is coming back. But you cannot build love on maybe. You cannot build trust on occasional sweetness. You cannot build emotional safety on a man who only becomes warm when he feels you pulling away. So stop measuring him by his best moments. Measure him by his pattern. Anyone can be sweet for one night. Anyone can say, I miss you. Anyone can send a beautiful text. But consistency is different. Consistency is what he does when he knows you care and still chooses to show up. So when he gives you one small sign, receive it as one small sign, not as proof that everything has changed. Let your emotional response match his actual effort. Because if you keep giving girlfriend-level emotion to talking stage-level effort, you will keep feeling confused. The fourth thing that makes men lose interest is when you become too afraid to disappoint him. This is the one that quietly changes you. You start editing yourself. You stop saying what you really think. You act more chill than you feel. You pretend you do not care about clarity. You pretend you are okay with less. You laugh things off that actually hurt. You tell yourself, I just don't want to ruin the vibe. But slowly, you become smaller, less honest, less expressive, less you. And that is the problem. Because attraction is not created by being perfectly agreeable. Attraction is created by aliveness, by personality, by a woman who has a self. A woman who can be kind but still honest, soft but still clear, loving but still grounded. But when you become afraid to disappoint him, your energy starts asking for approval. And approval seeking kills attraction. because now he becomes the judge and you become the contestant. You start wondering, was that too much? Should I say less? Should I wait? Should I pretend I don't care? And suddenly, you are not dating him. You are auditioning for him. But love should not feel like an audition. You should not have to perform the easiest version of yourself to keep someone interested. If he only likes you when you have no needs, no opinions, no standards, and no emotional truth, he does not like you. He likes convenience, and convenience is not love. The fifth thing that makes men lose interest is when you confuse intensity with connection. This one feels very real in the beginning. You talk for hours. The chemistry is strong. He says deep things. He makes you feel special. He acts like he has never felt this before. And suddenly you think, this is different. Maybe it is, but intensity is not intimacy. Intensity can happen fast. Intimacy takes time. Intensity feels like fireworks. Intimacy feels like safety. Intensity says, I cannot stop thinking about you. Intimacy says, I will keep showing up for you. And if you confuse those two, you may give him emotional access too early. You start expecting commitment from chemistry. You start needing reassurance from someone who has not built trust yet. You start treating the connection like it is deeper than it actually is. And then, when you ask for certainty too soon, he feels pressure. Not because your feelings are wrong, but because the emotional pace moved faster than the foundation. So, pace yourself. Do not suppress yourself. Just pace yourself. You can like him without emotionally moving in. You can enjoy the chemistry without handing him your whole heart. You can feel excited and still observe. Ask yourself, do I know him deeply? Or do I just know the feeling he gives me? Do I trust his pattern? Or am I attached to his potential? Because chemistry can make you feel chosen, but consistency proves you are. And the final thing that makes men lose interest is when you try to prove your worth. This is the deepest one, because it can look so innocent. You try to be more understanding, more attractive, more loyal, more easygoing, more different from other women. You want him to realize what he has. You want him to see that you are worth choosing. But the moment you start proving your worth, you step out of your power. Because your worth is not something you prove, it is something you live from. A woman who is proving her worth asks, how do I make him choose me? A woman who knows her worth asks, is he capable of choosing me properly? A woman who is proving her worth over-explains. A woman who knows her worth observes. A woman who is proving her worth chases clarity. A woman who knows her worth notices when clarity is missing. That is the difference, and men can feel it. They can feel when your energy is asking, am I enough? They can feel when you are trying to convince them. They can feel when you are afraid one wrong move will make them leave. And the wrong man will use that. He gives less. You prove more. He becomes distant. You become warmer. He withholds certainty. You try to become more lovable. And suddenly, the whole connection is built around you trying to win back the version of him from the beginning. But love should not feel like that. You should not have to audition for effort. You should not have to audition for respect. You should not have to audition for basic consistency. So if you feel like you are constantly trying to prove why he should care, stop. Not because you should become cold, but because proving your worth to someone who benefits from doubting it will slowly destroy your self-respect. And this is the real lesson. When a man pulls away, most women instinctively move closer. He texts less, so you think more. He gives less, so you try more. He becomes uncertain, so you become more attached. And you think you are saving the connection. But sometimes, you are teaching him that your presence does not require his effort. That is the pattern you have to break. Not by becoming mean, not by playing games, not by pretending you do not care, but by becoming centered. A centered woman can care without chasing. She can like him without losing herself. She can be soft without being endlessly available. She can be patient without being passive. She can say, "I like you," without silently adding, "Please don't leave me." And that is the energy that changes everything. Because when you are centered, you stop turning his distance into your personal failure. You stop asking, "How do I get him back?" And you start asking, "Is this still mutual?" You stop asking, "What did I do wrong?" And you start asking, "What did this dynamic reveal?" Because sometimes, when a man loses interest, it is not a sign that you are not enough. It is a sign that you were giving too much to someone who was giving less. Maybe you gave him certainty before he gave you consistency. Maybe you gave him emotional access before he gave you emotional safety. Maybe you became too understanding when you should have been honest. Maybe you were so afraid of losing him that you stopped checking whether he was actually good for you. And if that is true, do not shame yourself. That is not weakness. That is a pattern, and patterns can change. But only when you stop romanticizing self-abandonment as love. Because love is not making yourself smaller so someone stays. Love is not accepting crumbs because you remember when he once gave you more. Love is not being endlessly patient with someone who keeps you uncertain. And real attraction does not require you to panic. So the next time you feel a man pulling away, pause. Before you send the long message, pause. Before you over-explain, pause. Before you rearrange your whole schedule, pause. Before you forgive something that actually hurt you, pause. And ask yourself, am I responding from love or from fear? Because love feels grounded. Fear feels urgent. Love respects both people. Fear abandons you to keep them. And the moment you learn the difference, you stop losing yourself just because someone else became unsure. Because the woman who keeps a man interested is not the woman who is always available, always patient, always easy. It is the woman who stays connected to herself. Soft but not weak. Warm but not desperate. Loving but not self-abandoning. Interested but not obsessed. Open but not endlessly accessible. She does not chase attraction. She embodies value. And when a man can no longer meet her there, she does not collapse. She lets the distance reveal the truth. So if this video spoke to you, this channel is all about attraction, dating, heartbreak, self-worth, and the psychology behind why people act the way they do in love. Make sure you subscribe if you want honest relationship psychology, without the games, without the drama, and without pretending you do not have feelings. And if you have not watched it yet, watch my last video next. The exact moment he decides you're not worth fighting for. Because it connects perfectly to this one, and it will help you understand what happens when a man stops investing before he ever says it out loud. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.